Okay. Um, so we said we would revisit weaknesses. I think that's something we should probably look at maybe today. Made a suggestion. What suggestion is it? Oh, it's an empty line. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was me
Ooh.
without
Oh.
logging in. That was is the first draft of the article that we were talking about now.
Ah, I see. Yes. Okay. So this is the first draft of the blog article, you said, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, we stopped at the we didn't fill out the use cases yet, and also the examples missing, but just
Yeah.
general idea we put in there. So yeah,
Okay. All right. That's awesome.
we could.
Any.
And
And what?
I just wanted to mention that Basil will not join today because he has a separate call. I don't know if he
Oh,
let you know, but yeah.
okay. Yeah, no worries. I wasn't aware, but that's fine. As long as we got one or both of you, I think we're probably good. We're gonna be kind of lost without your expertise. So, but honestly, um, okay, good. So, is there anything that you want the group to kind of go through on this, or is this just kind of a work in progress, and you just plan to fill in the use cases and examples, or what would you like us to do with this?
Yeah, I mean, good idea is to just go briefly over it. I don't know if we want to go over it in the call or just separate to have some comments on it. Can do those in the doc, and then yeah, we would just continue adding the missing parts. And if you have
Okay.
any feedback, use case that are missing, or I don't know something else, then yeah, you can just change it or yeah, add a comment.
Okay. Well, let's go through that.
Okay.
Um, let's actually go through that on our own time if we can. You okay with
Mhm.
that, Matt?
That's fine. I'll just say that I I'll probably not have a lot of time to look at it, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're dealing with some stuff. Um, okay. Do we want to, let's see, what are the things that we wanted to revisit? Weak
Um,
algorithms, unsafe algorithms.
maybe before we start going into that one, maybe an interesting note. We had a call on Tuesday
Okay.
with MITRE,
Yeah.
and they plan to establish a working group and to send kind of a note around the C-bomb and what we can do with it to their, I don't know, it's not stakeholders, but to their network of companies. And also, so they will use this blog post as a starting point, rephrase it a little bit to send it then to their network. And also, we agreed that it makes sense to reflect this group in this note. So every company or any company that wants to participate in the working group is then able to join. So yeah,
Beautiful.
maybe we get them.
That's an amazing update. Thank you for that. Who'd you meet with over at MITRE?
Um, Good question. I didn't recall the names, but they established a new working group just for the post quantum safe inventory stuff. And I think I don't know if Jeannie, no, not Jeannie, what's the first name, but I can look it up if it's you're
Okay.
interested.
No, I was just curious. I mean, MITRE's obviously a big company. I just didn't know if I knew somebody over there or not.
Mhm.
Okay, no, that's an amazing update. Thank you for that. So they're basically waiting on this blog post then?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So do we want to give ourselves a time limit then? We said we would actually review it offline.
Mhm.
Uh, However, we still need to do the let's see, story with CNSA 2.0 policy as code. Okay. Example related to certificate keys and CBOM. For settings like FIPS 140, certified modules are required. CBOM provides a mechanism to document and test. Describe how to use the protocols feature of CBOM in conjunction with SBOM services. Okay, right. And then optional machine readable algorithm parameters / specifications. Okay. Call to action to join the group.
Yep.
All right.
Who are the shoulders of giants? Who are the, who are the giants? So I've seen that phrase a lot. And
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Basil put this headline in, but I guess he meant the CycloneDX SBOM standard group. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not clear because it sounds like it's IBM from the first sentence. So and that's not.
Oh yeah, no, that shouldn't. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't even. I didn't even go down that thinking path. I was going down the thinking path of turtles all the way down, right? So CMOM is based on CycloneDX, which then is based on XML and JSON, which themselves are giants. So I was going down the turtles route.
Yeah, I mean,
Again,
but that is a good comment. Right?
I think that this is very pragmatic from what I'm scanning from initially. So I was hoping for more of a personal touch, like there's some background on why it's important, but I was hoping for Nicholas and Basil to shine through a little bit. Like we're telling the story of our engagement with this from our vantage point, and then why personal reasons, or why CycloneDX. That's like that's the transition. Why SBOM. So this feels very not academic, but more dry than most blogs.
So you recommended last week, Matt, that there would be two variants of this blog, one for OWASP and another flavor for IBM with IBM specific things and opinions, right? Is that still the direction that you want to go?
This feels more, well, I mean, they don't have to be that much different.
Okay.
Typically in the open, it's much more of a personal touch. It's more about the contributor and the open source project, open standard project. Why they came to the, why they're doing this in the open, why this is, personally, where they had revelations or things like that. Why, exactly why Cyclone, why SBOM in general, some of flavor text, what's your thinking inside. You're hoping to connect with other peers, to like mind, to synchronize, find other people who have the same mental beliefs or whatever.
Who's going to be on the byline? Is it going to be Nicholas or Basil or both?
Good question. I mean, we started to collaborate on this draft, so
we can make it both.
But
That's fine. Okay.
I start like, here's Nicholas and Bass and I work in this group, and we've been working, start telling your story, and we encountered this White House thing came out, and just tell your story, what you thought and what you viewed, and what what you're make yourself the actor taking people through, the narrator, basically.
I understand what you mean. Yeah, I mean, if that's the version we want to have, then I'm happy to change.
Yeah, this feels more like an announcement than it does a blog.
Yeah. Agree.
but I can use this for a future announcement. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's actually good content in here. That would be um, that would be actually really good for like a press release type of thing. Um,
And ironically, I was 1 minute late joining this call because I asked by a manager in my org if I could share a presentation with them so they could figure out how to repurpose it to post on an IBM website.
oh,
So
really?
luckily,
Yeah.
I don't have to. It looks like somebody else volunteered to repurpose it or whatever. So yeah, this is your chance, hopefully, in the community to talk like a community member and talk about, as a developer researcher.
Yeah, like that idea. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you guys keep in mind that you guys are going to get a byline on like the OWASP website, your pictures will optionally be there if you so choose, right? Just give me a headshot and but yeah, absolutely. People in the OWASP community probably don't know you. And this is your chance to kind of, tell your story. Why you think there was a problem, why you know, why you chose CycloneDX as a base for your solution. So, yeah, in general, I don't think there's a lot of tweak. I mean, I think you can use the majority of this content, just tweak it a little bit, honestly.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I understand. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great ask though, why and how and all the W questions of each paragraph or two or each section.
Yeah.
What was going through your heads.
Yeah. And this will also eventually make it on the CycloneDX website as well. We're actually revamping our news section on the CycloneDX website. It's going to be much prettier than what it is now, but we're also making room for, because it's right now it's mostly just press releases, but we're also making a section basically for blogs as well. So this will eventually be cross-posted to both sites. So potentially increasing its visibility. In addition to IBM. So that'll be awesome. Hey, Lars, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm good. Thank you. Sorry for being late.
No worries. We were just critiquing some writing. feel like I'm an English teacher.
English teacher, yeah.
You don't want me as an English teacher.
Okay.
I might be a native speaker, but you don't want me as an English teacher.
Okay. Maybe it was good I missed the first 15 minutes then.
Grammarly is my best friend. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, I see.
Yes. So do we want to give ourselves a deadline then for this, Nicholas, since MITRE is essentially in some cases waiting for this to go live?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how your schedule look like. I mean, Buzz and I work tomorrow on it again, maybe also on Monday. I don't know, we can also update it here in the doc, so you can occasionally have a review on it, or we ping you over Slack if we updated something, and then I think finally maybe on next week we can have a look through and then.
That would be great. So the goal then is then to work, just kind of restate kind of what you did, what you said, work on it in between now and the next meeting, and then get essentially a sign off by the next meeting. Once we get that quote unquote sign off, then what I will do then is I'll just convert this to Markdown, because that's kind of how both the CycloneDX website and the OWASP kind of website kind of works. Or if you want to do this, if you want to do it in Markdown yourself, that would be even better.
I did, but
But
I posted it then here, so I had to
okay,
switch
okay.
it from
Yeah, I
Markdown.
essentially need Markdown at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then there's just a custom header type thing, obviously for the various websites in Markdown. But yeah, essentially what happens then, at least on the OWASP website, is that I then submit a pull request to the OWASP.org website. I do have to let them know probably a day or two in advance that I want this published. So, because otherwise they may not get to it right away. So I'll need a kind of a day or two just to kind of here, heads up, can you publish this on X? Now the blog can go live anytime. If we want it to go live on Thursday or Friday, that's fine. We probably shouldn't promote it when it goes live. Well, if it's the end of the week, like a Thursday or Friday, we probably shouldn't promote it at that time. In my opinion, we should probably promote it like on that Monday or Tuesday, you know,
Yep.
and I can have the OWASP account actually do that. I'll have the folks at Cyclone do that as well, and then the Cyclone stuff will be both Twitter, Mastodon, and LinkedIn, and then the OWASP will also be all three as well. So we should probably get we should get some fairly good reach.
Okay.
But yeah, nobody's got to pay attention to something on a Friday, so it'll just get lost and nobody will know we even did anything.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. Okay. No, this is good. Thank you for doing all this, Nicholas, and Basil, even though you're not here. Let's see.
So I didn't see the document yet. I probably have missed it, but I'm happy to, not now, but over the weekend, I'm happy to read through it as well, if that helps. I
Yeah.
can do that. I just don't
Yeah.
know where to find it at the moment. So
It's the high-level use case document.
the one that we looked at in the past already. Okay.
Yeah. He just kind of amended to that, and
Okay.
which
Yeah,
is fine. I mean, I put the link in the chat window,
thank you.
but yeah, he just kind
Yeah.
of amended to that.
Okay. Yeah, I found it. I will comment on it if I
Okay.
can. Yeah.
And I think the comments
Thank you.
really initially, I think were more about personal touch because it's a blog, not a press release.
Yeah.
The content's really good though. So, and then we'll have to have a nice little call to action at the bottom for others to get involved. Before we go down, there's a couple things in the spec that, we kind of pointed out earlier that we want to revisit. There was like one or two fields that had a fairly lengthy amount of enums that I just want to look at. But before we go down to the technical stuff, I want to revisit some of the higher level things that use cases that we were trying to talk about last time, and see if we can flesh those out a little bit. Regarding FIPS, we've got a note here. Determine if this can be achieved through attestation support in CDX 1.6. FIPS also applies to configurations as well. Is it running in FIPS mode or not? This is something we want. This is not something that attestations can help with. So where can I find the certification level in the spec, Nicholas? Is there
So
IBM, CBOM?
yes, exactly.
And then
Yeah, it's in
That's the,
1.4 and in 1.5 at the same
okay. I didn't see the
place.
1.5.
So yeah, it's because it's in a separate
Different
branch.
branch.
Yeah.
1.5. Okay, release. I see.
Yeah.
And
then there's this. We put it in a separate file, so there's no crypto in Cindy.
oh, there's not. That's right. That's right. That's right. This is yeah, you
Yeah,
can do
it's
extensible type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
and that was
we
called, what was it called? Certification level.
yes.
Oops. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm trying to do.
It's only part currently of the algorithm, I think, which makes sense. But you find it under the algorithm properties, and there's some certification levels we added there in enum.
Does I think I know the answer to this, but does FIPS 140, does that change over time? Like, you know, FIPS 140 10 years ago is probably a little bit different than it is today, right?
I guess so. I actually don't know that is not a domain I'm too much into. So can't really tell. Bali would know, but yeah. Okay, they have subversions, I guess.
They've got what?
So subversions with 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like that are. So I guess the initial one will not be overwritten, just like when they publish a
You've
new
got,
version.
yeah, so you've got FIPS 142 level 1, right? Those are levels, right? L.
Yep.
Yeah, level 1. Okay, so it looks like you're accounting for that. You're not including the you're not including FIPS 140-1, however, which I find interesting.
I guess because it was withdrawn, but yeah, I mean, one can argue that we still should put it in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anybody doing it. It's kind of like including MD5 for like a hashing algorithms. Like, yeah, nobody uses that, but there are legacy things that do exist that still kind of use that algorithm.
It's true.
So to be able to appeal to the widest number of possible users, we actually did support MD5 initially.
Yeah, I would
So
agree. Adding the first
we
version
should
too.
probably add one -1 in here. Okay, so it looks like they just changed this number over time, and that number basically stays the same. Is what I'm understanding this to read. Now I don't know what this other one is. Which EAL?
I don't know either. I guess just another certification standard, but like I think we discussed it last time that there are multiple ones and not just those two. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what we do for I wonder if it makes sense to do something like this. Um, um, so let's see if we go to GitHub, Cyclone.
EAL could be evaluation assurance level. I posted a link in Zoom. Never heard of it.
Evaluation assurance level. Interesting. Okay. I'll come back to that. Let's see.
Maybe just also a general comment to this, why we often choose the enums, because for our idea to throw C-bombs against policies to find vulnerabilities and weaknesses and all that stuff, it was very important to have specified fields and specified values that we can evaluate. We have just a string field and no real recommendation. The policies that we normally would write does not maybe apply if like the font, the expression is different, but still means the same. So that's why we often choose the enums compared to free text. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a trade-off here. Just why we did that.
I personally like enums most of the time because I like the strictness that they provide. They sacrifice extensibility as a result. Yep. But my I mean, the extensibility that can be kind of overcome with the addition of a complementary field.
Well, I think that my being a validation person, that the problem is that especially in a dynamic field like this, it's kind of like, you know, it could be something, a combination. When we construct the JSON schema, we basically say it's this enum data or nothing, and it's either the word other. It would be great if the JSON schema are constructed perhaps to allow some latitude that, you know, all these enums could map to, much like we do in the maturity model for the other work. This could be the short value. This could be the end of the path of a URN. But then how to extend it? So you could have, if the schema allowed a pattern, a string pattern, that we could add other colon some other name, or just some way, or other slash some other name, that would be amazing. So you could actually say, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you could have like CDX, you know, crypto, colon.
So it's harder for people like us to create the schema, but it's nicer to say you could have best of both worlds. You gotta have an enum that map to URNs and allow for one of the URNs to be other, but be extensible, you know, right?
Right,
Or,
exactly. Yeah, so we can keep the enums and make it extensible at the same time, I think is kind of the goal.
Yeah.
So instead of having like other, actually make it a different field. So instead of certification level, it would be called something else. Or certification level, actually, no. Certification level could be an enum, or it could be this thing that's a pattern.
And that's what I said makes difficult for people like Jan and I to put restrictions in the field. So because the problem is you don't have a lot of latitude. Yeah.
Yes, and we have to also think about, unfortunately, we still have to think about XML as well, because especially for high assurance environments, they still use it.
In terms of schema, we could do one of enum or some URN composition pattern, right?
Yeah. How do we want to because right now none of this is in the CycloneDX repository, so we can't necessarily, like, if we're critiquing the CBOM specification right now, how do we want to manage our critiques of that? Like, we just kind of, I think we kind of came to a consensus of what we want, how does the group want to start capturing that moving forward?
Well, ideally, IBM would donate the CBOM repository to an OWASP repository, and Nicholas and Basil would have to submit a form to get approved to do so.
Okay. Yeah. I think since that was the original idea, makes also sense to do that. And we can start the process for that internally.
Now, the question is, will that happen before the blog? Probably.
Well, do we need
maybe.
to? I mean, I don't think we need to.
As long as Nicholas Basil have an executive signer and Michael Osborne or somebody executive to sign it, we can fast path a migration, a approval process.
No, yeah, my thing wasn't necessarily the approval process, because I mean, this is Apache licensed, so I mean,
Yep.
right?
Well,
I mean,
well, it goes back to the call to action in the blog. I was relating this to the blog. We're inviting people.
okay.
So it would be nice if the blog came out and said, "Hey, come take a look over here at OWASP instead of IBM," and we will,
Right.
drop us some comments, or give us review the spec and give us an open issue.
Right. So my one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up like issue tracker, that's kind of what I'm, thinking,
Mhm.
right? Well, where do we submit the backlog of things that we want to refine in the existing CBOM spec? And I don't think the IBM repo is the place to do it. So what I would like to do is create a 1.6 branch for in the CycloneDX specification repo, create a 1.6 branch specifically for cryptography, and then we can work in that official repository, and we'll be able to use the CycloneDX specification repo as the source for all of the issues going forward.
Yep.
Does that sound like a good path?
For me, absolutely. I mean, that's like the idea to integrate in the official spec and not have a separate repo,
Yeah.
which is a CBOM spec. So yeah, makes
And
sense.
I think that's the only path that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I will do that between now and our next call. I will basically take verbatim what you have here and the few changes required to extend the existing 1.5 spec. I'll make that same extension over to 1.6. And yeah, I'll submit that, what we currently have verbatim, and in that way we can use the official repo as a source of issues. So let me, in the meantime, however, I need to start capturing the things that we're talking about.
Mhm.
So let me just start capturing that now.
Just on the same topic a little bit, because from internal perspective, since we internally want to provide scanners that generate CBOM and that stuff, we plan to more sooner than later put this 1.5 as our leading version out there with some changes to the current version. We have still some issues internally that we want to resolve. So there will be some little change, but not to the overall schema, more like if we use pearls or not, and so things, just so we can internally continue with the capabilities of the newer version to integration of scanners. So
yeah, just make sure that like whatever minor tweaks that you do, just make sure you upstream those changes to us, and everybody will be happy. Okay.
Yep.
So let's revisit. Let's create an issue. Make actually, let me just preface here. Make This is going to be for, this will be an enhancement. This will be for 1.6. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to capture what it is that we talked about. FIPS also applies to configuration as well. Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Is it running in FIPS mode or not? I think that question, I think this question can be, I think this question, is it running in FIPS mode or not, can be easily represented in 1.5. We've got a new type of component called data, and data can be of type configuration. Now we don't try to normalize configurations because that would be an impossible task.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have context of what it is that you're specifying the configuration of. But if that configuration has like a checkbox, for example, FIPS mode, yes or no, that could be something that we already support, but we would have to, we should make it, we should probably provide some examples of that would be my guess. Because it's not, it's a non-obvious use case, right? You can do it, but then the question is, well, how do I do it? If you're a user of CycloneDX, and there is a way to do it, but we will probably have to document that in a guide.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Configuration, algorithm supported but not configured or enabled. Difference with dependency tree used, implemented.
I mean, I understand the suggestion there, but we're just from the experience we have with on the detecting side, so with generation and scanners that try to detect something like that and express it, there will not be an easy way to figure out if, from a source code perspective, if an algorithm is actually used or not, if a piece of source code is used or not on the static analysis side. So I think from that use case is not really something that will become up from the automatic part of generating CBOMs. Maybe if someone wants to manually express this relationship, one could do that, but I think that will be rarely the case. Just assuming here some things.
Yeah, I think the only I think the only automated way that I can think of to do that, I don't want to say reliably, but with a fairly decent level of confidence, would be something like IAST, where you're actually looking at the stack trace of a running application in real time. So for IAST, you'll be able to identify what's configured and whatnot. But for static analysis and stuff, no, that's too hard of a problem.
Yeah.
Um,
But even then, you would normally have like one CBOM, one scan that only expresses the used relationship because you just analyze what is actually used. So you can map that against the static thing, but you normally don't have it maybe in one. I don't know, one can think of that if you want to combine it and stuff, but yeah. I mean, because this discussion with the dependency type that we maybe don't, or that we, I think you said it, that it will not be part of 1.6 since it would be like a big breaking change. I think then this issue is not like an issue because we can't express the difference between use and implement in 1.6. So it would be maybe something for two. Yeah.
so what are the two dependency types that we have now? I can't remember.
Use and implement. So this is
Oh, there you
in
are.
our,
Okay.
yeah. But you mentioned that you have like some other way to express, or you plan to. I don't know. You mentioned that there's a little bit more of a context you can add, and Matt was then mentioned some graph things and stuff where you can put something on the edges. But I think that was just brainstorming, or isn't actually part of the current version.
So used and implemented isn't part of the current 1.1 CBOM spec.
No, it's part of the sequence spec. Sorry, I was speaking about the current SBOM that you mentioned there. It could be a way to express it. And then Matt said something with graph expressions and that you can put some more context on the edge and not just uses and implements, maybe more context, more bigger structure, bigger argument.
Right.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if that was just brainstorming or if it actually is already part of the SBOM 1.5 spec.
No, it's not part of it. We would have to design that.
Okay.
I'm trying to recall what I was thinking about, or what Matt was thinking about. I can't remember who was thinking about it.
I think it started a little bit that if we add dependency types that not only used and implements, I mean, that is something we are interested in, but for other use cases, there's maybe more properties or more types. Yeah. And so that can grow in not only those two, but like more and a bigger context, not just maybe a string, maybe also the whole object, speaking in JSON terms, or I don't know. So I think that was the discussion there, when I recall it correctly.
Yeah. So the main question, for example, is so the nuance here is not like this thing depends on or uses this other thing. The context is more like, hey, this library implements this algorithm, right? That's
Yep.
really the context. Okay. Okay. All right. We definitely need to revisit this.
That's a good point.
Vulnerability and implementation versus the algorithm. I think we can do that today. Or I mean, not today, but I mean 1.6 without really any changes, right? If crypto assets are part of the bomb, and one of those assets is a algorithm, that actually would work. That would work today. And of course, we can do it on a library, like an implementation, for example. That's easy.
Yeah.
We should this should also probably be part of the guide, I would imagine. We're creating a guide for we're creating multiple guides. We already got the authoritative guide on SBOM. We've got another one in the works for SASBOM. Matt, whenever he gets his head buried from whatever he's doing now, will hopefully come up with an MBOM one. We've got some people trying to start on the ML bomb for machine learning. And then we also have we're planning one for attestations.
Yeah, we had actually the CycloneDX maintainers call yesterday, and Jan and we talked about many topics for a long time, but I admitted that I owed you some blogs, and that's
Yeah.
Probably not soon. In fact, I'm getting sucked into another call, and I have to say goodbye to everybody. So,
Okay.
all right, take care.
All right, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye. But I mean, this point is really interesting, especially because MITRE are like committed to do the CVE related stuff for crypto algorithms or crypto assets. So they want to actually do this and to bootstrap that, and how they like decide or describe and host or even generate CVEs for the implementation versus the actual algorithm, and how they structure that. It's I think interesting for them to figure out.
I think one thing that would be really, and you said they're you're saying they're creating a working group. One thing that would be really beneficial to us, and I think the rest of the community, is really not the vulnerabilities, but is really about the weaknesses.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Because like we can talk MD5, we can talk SHA-1. They operate as designed. They don't have necessarily vulnerabilities. They have weaknesses. And being able to describe that in a consistent and machine readable way would be something that working group that would be huge if they could provide some kind of insight to that.
Yep.
I think that's bigger than what our group can do personally.
Yeah. No, I was just want to apologize for mixing those terms. Sometimes I still do vulnerabilities and weaknesses,
No worries.
but I meant but I meant the same thing. So yeah, like they want to try to host like an equivalent of describing those weaknesses and based on the CBOM data. So that's
Perfect. That would be amazing. Okay. And if we again, if we design the spec, I mean, I think we can do it the way it is now, but just whatever they come up with in terms of being able to represent that, we just need to be aware of what it is that they're doing. So if there's any kind of tweaks that we need to make in the future, we'll be able to capture that information that they're trying to describe. Algorithms supported on a given service. This is the protocol stuff, right? I think we can do that today. Yeah, we can do that today. Well, in 1.6 today.
I think also Buzzy came up with an example internally for a group that want to describe such a relationship, and it was possible in the 1.5 spec or like then 1.6.
Okay.
So,
Yep. All right.
Still thinking about if there's any use case for having those, like we have these crypto properties under a component like object. So one can specify a component type library and add crypto properties to this library. Even then the relationship is not so clear, but it's still possible. If that is something that you may want to do for a service, because there we don't have it for now. You can just have a service and then a dependency to a crypto asset. I think that's fine for what I think, but if there's any use case that you want to have like the crypto properties under a service component, then we have to add it there too or reference it there too. But no.
Right. Yeah. That. I know if we don't add it, somebody will ask for it. But I honestly don't like that approach. I really don't. I mean, it's not clean to me.
Yeah, agree.
The one thing that CycloneDX has always tried to do, one, we've never tried to create the perfect model. We try to create a model in which can be highly automatable and prescriptive, so that there's usually just one, maybe two ways to kind of represent something. There's not like 20 different ways to represent something. And I like the fact that we can say, well, here's this service, and that service depends on a component of type cryptographic asset. However, I think there's again, this kind of goes into the dependency types, right? Used and implemented doesn't really tell the service anything, right? I can implement something on the service, but where am I implementing that? If we had something like this service is available via or provides, that's a little bit different type of relationship than implements.
Yep.
So like, for example, if we had a service that implemented I don't know, AES 256 or something. Well, is that service actually using that for encryption of data at rest, or is it using it for the encrypting, a value in a JWT token, for example, right?
Yeah.
Two completely different things.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll have to think about this. But I like the fact that, right now with 1.5.1.6, we can just use an existing component type to say that this service implements this algorithm. But I think we do need to go that one step further. Maybe not in 1.6, maybe it's a 1.7 thing. I don't know. But I think we need to go that one step further and say this service provides via transport, or provides a, I don't want to reuse the service, but provides this functionality. But I think we need to, I think there's going to be a need to specify what something is available on the transport versus the non-transport.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's also like the differentiation between like where it is used and in which context is what makes also a regulation apply, not maybe applying, but failing or not. So like this is important to decide
Yeah,
if it
absolutely.
is compliant
Yeah.
or not. Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay.
I mean, since we are like close to 4 and I have actually a hard break, since I have to go to the next meeting. But maybe I can just, if it is of interest, we at IBM Research and Quantum will host hopefully sooner, I think hopefully in the end of this month, a service. I will just quickly, maybe it's of interest. So a service called CBOM Generator, and we'll also advertise it and all that stuff. So the idea here is to, one of the community members or like everyone can just add a Git URL and then start pressing scan. And what it does is it clones the Git repo in the background, and then it will use our scanner technology in the background to detect crypto assets. And you can then download the CBOM of those assets and can use it in your context. So that's basically the idea. So it's a way to establish the CBOM specification.
That is beautiful.
That is nice. Yeah, I'd be very interested. Can we get a sneak peek? Is this public? I mean, I'd love to try it in our stuff.
Yeah, I mean, actually the URL is public, but it's hosted on a research OpenShift cluster on our website. So it's not really like public, but yeah. If you are fast
That is
in
beautiful.
typing the URL, then yeah. Yeah, and also a nice feature, we added the open encode functionality. So it will open the GitHub link and highlight the line where it was found. So you can actually see the crypto asset here now highlighted.
Unbelievable. That's awesome.
So yeah, we try to like make it to production in like end of this month, and then hopefully try to advertise it then also. Yeah, share the link with you.
Will that be another blog post from IBM?
I hope so.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Well, I know you have a hard stop, so thank you so much, Nicholas. Thank you, Lars. Good conversations today. So I'll make the changes to the repo, like I said, and let you know in the Slack channel when I've made it. Other than that, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
Steve, do you have another minute?
I've got 1 minute. I need to jump to another call.
Okay, so
Cheers.
it will be
Bye.
quick. Maybe I'll just do it at a different time then.